My name is Scott Stewart, and I'm a Ph.D. student here at the University of Florida in the Environmental Horticulture Department. And my research focuses on the conservation of native terrestrial orchids. I do some work with epiphytic orchids here in Florida as well. My work really focuses on two aspects of native orchid conservation in Florida. I work with the plant themselves, work with how to grow them, so propagation science. I work with the ecology of the plants, why they grow where they do. And I work with the pollination biology of those plants. What insect or what other animal pollinates those individual plants. The second thing I work with is also the mycorrhizal symbionts, the mycorrhizal fungi of those plants. And I work with how to culture those in the laboratory, how to identify them, and how to use those in combination with seed under sterile laboratory conditions and growing these plants so I can reintroduce them into the wild in a habitat restoration scheme. And some of the impacts of this research have really been both in restored habitats and in current habitats that have either been poached or have been somehow otherwise damaged. And what we've been able to do is, both here in Florida and throughout the U.S., use these methods to demonstrate that orchids can be successfully grown. They can be successfully grown with their mycorrhizal partners as they are in nature. And these plants can be reintroduced into the wild. And what this allows us to do is repopulate areas that may have been illegally poached, or areas that have been disturbed, habitats that have been disturbed and have been subsequently restored. We're able to go back in and reintroduce orchids into those habitats. And this allows us to demonstrate this technology, or how this science actually works on a large scale. And so hopefully these techniques will be adopted by other researchers in other institutions throughout the U.S. and even worldwide, that then they can use those technologies in reintroducing and protecting their native orchid species.
What about the UF experience?
Oh, and the experience here at UF has been interesting for me. I came from a very small undergraduate institution, sort of one of these places where everybody knew you by both first and your last name. It was so small. Coming here has been quite an experience. I've been exposed to a larger array of individual personalities and individual experiences. Actually, one experience would be the production of orchids. I was only familiar with the conservation of native orchids, not the production of orchids, for instance. And since orchids are the #2 potted crop in the U.S., I knew nothing about that other than some facts and figures. And coming here to UF and communicating with the people that I have through UF, I've gained an appreciation for that commercial production aspect, and actually been able to learn some of the technologies used in commercial production and apply them to the production of native orchids. And in doing so, I've been able to increase the number of plants that I'm able to produce for these conservation and restoration efforts. So this coming to University of Florida really has really increased my general knowledge of both the commercial and the conservation aspects of specifically what I do with orchids, but also in general with plants.